So welcome everyone to the Women in Technology WIT November Tech Talk Tuesday. I'm Stella Segura. I'm the committee chair for the WIT High School program. For this evening, we have planned an amazing event where you will hear from strong, successful women in technology who are here to share their insights. So on a personal note, I wanted to share something. I grew up hearing a lot of wise sayings from my parents, and tonight two come to mind that I want to share. First one, a wise person learns from his or her mistake, but a wiser one learns from others. Second one, time is the most precious gift you can give someone. Very appropriate sayings for tonight, as our guest speakers are here to share their precious time with you, to share their stories, their success, their struggles, for you to learn from them. A big thank you to all our guest speakers, as we are grateful for their willingness to share their time and experience with us. Thank you very much. Can we move to the next slide? So now I'd like to invite the students here to take out your phones and scan the barcodes here to stay connected with us. The one on the left is the barcode to follow us on Instagram. And the one on the right is to sign up for those that haven't signed up to get the latest WIT communication updates and events. So I encourage everybody to scan this and follow us and be part of the WIT mission with us. So now, before we get started with the panel discussions, which is very exciting, we want to get to know our audience. So we're going to do one polling question for the students to share. What school are you attending and what grade? Can we launch the polling question? There we go. So here's the list of the schools that you're attending and the grade. If the students can please fill that in and submit it. Give you a couple minutes, seconds. Awesome. Ferris, can we have the results of the polling question?
Yeah, we have about 8 of 21 clicked, so hopefully we get more. There's 21.
Okay. So students, if you can select and submit, we would appreciate it. We just want to know who's in the audience.
If you're not on the list, yeah, sorry, there's no other option. So just put that in the chat if you're not on the list.
Are the results looking better, Ferris?
Yeah, about half. I think there's a bunch of us as well. So let's just
Okay, yeah. So I guess for the grades, can we see the results from the grades? Oh, there we go. So here we see. So these are the schools that are participating. If your school is not there, no worries. We're inclusive. Everybody's welcome. We can work with your schools to become a partner. But awesome. How about the grades, Ferris?
there's spread out.
Okay.
Right
So okay, that's good. It's good to know. Okay, so now without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce our moderator of the evening, Sharon Hildebrand, a technology executive from Hatishi Solutions and our very own WIT board member and a committee chair of the corporate partnership. Sharon, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure to be with everyone, and thank you in advance for taking the time after hours, after school, to be fed with what's going to be an amazing panel experience. There are 4 wonderful women launching young professionals that bring a lot of lessons and been there, done that type of experience that they're going to share with you tonight. And I'm just honored and blessed to be able to moderate the conversation. So I'm going to go ahead and briefly introduce our panelists in the spirit of time so we can just dive right into the questions. And I'd like to start with Brielle Bryson, who is a PM at William Blair. And then next, I'd like to introduce and also welcome Shayna Way, who is a security engineer at William Blair. Alex, I work with Alex. We both work at Hitachi, and I'm not going to dare try to pronounce her name again because I know I'm not going to get it right. Who is a cloud engineer at Hitachi, and then Kenyatta Prime, who also is a software engineer at Hitachi. So welcome, ladies. Thank you for taking the time to share your experience and your background with our audience of aspiring technology leaders today. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's dive in. We've got a couple questions prepared for the panel, and the conversation is intended to be casual and fluid. I do want to encourage everyone, we will have the opportunity to address questions, but if you have any, if you hear a story from one of our panelists and that sparks a question, please do put it in the chat. We want to make sure that we capture every question and opportunity to communicate with you live while we have our panelists available. And the first question that I'm actually going to start off with, and I'm going to start with Kenyatta, is just, would you mind giving us an idea of a day in the life? You know, what does it look like in your role working for Hitachi Solutions? Kind of walk us through when you wake up, your biggest challenges, what you like the most, what's best about your job, what some of your biggest challenges, just kind of just overall day in the life of your position. We'd love to hear a little bit more.
Okay, awesome. So probably the best part is a flexible schedule. So I typically don't start my day until about maybe 8 or 9, depending on when my meetings are. So if I have a meeting at like 9, I probably won't get online until probably like 8:30. So that's always nice. And I begin my day with, I test software. So I'm either creating test cases or testing cases that were already created. And if I'm creating test cases, business analysts created criteria for me, and I literally go by there and create details step by step on how to get from point A to point B. If I'm executing test cases, I'm sorry, my dog's in the background. If I'm executing test cases, then I am going through step by step that I created or someone else created. And from there, my goal is kind of to break the software. So I definitely enjoy that. I'm trying to mess it up so the develop team, can go back and fix any issues that I find, and I report those issues. And from there, it kind of goes back around and I retest it. And that's a typical day in my life. I'm so sorry about my dogs.
Actually, it just brings more color. I think we're all used to animals, kids, you know, everything, noises, Starbucks in the background. So it's all great. Testing is such a valuable part of the technology development lifecycle. And one of the things I really love that you called out was the flexibility that you have in your schedule. You know, I'd like to mention I've been in technology for 35 years, but, you know, there's few jobs that are 9 to 5, but one of the beauties of tech is that you do have a lot of flexibility, working globally, you know, following the sun type of schedules. So thank you for leading with calling out the benefits of being in technology and having that flexibility. At the end of the day, you show up to break the software, and that's what everyone wants. Speaking of breaking software and fixing things, I'm actually going to throw that same question off to Alex, who I think a lot of the stuff that you might bring up might land in her world if we talk about the actual evolution when a piece of software is written and it goes from development to testing and then in production. So Alex, can you tell us a little bit more about day in the life for you?
Yeah, I mean, I hope I never break anything. That's the exact opposite I would ever want. I focus a lot on the infrastructure as code side of things. So if my code breaks something or accidentally deletes something, I can take down an entire production server, which would be terrible because I'm sure someone's been on a website and you can't connect to that website, and I would be the person who's on the hook for that. And being on that end, it can be stressful at times when things aren't working how it's planned, which is why Kenyatta is there to break them so that I can be prepared for when they are broken and anticipate that. But yeah, it's fun, but it definitely can be stressful.
Well, I'd like to selfishly call you out. You both work at Hitachi. I know you both, have a virtual team and a connection as far as what you do in your separate roles. And, you're on the infrastructure, we'll call it more plumbing side of things, which is extremely important. And then Kenyatta gets her hands on something when it's actually ready to roll into production and be shared with the customer. So both very important roles, both tons of flexibility, and sounds like different highlights for both of you. So I'd like to move on to the next question, which has to do with your younger selves. And yes, I know each of you are starting off in your professional career as technology leaders, but you were in the same place with all of the women that are on the call not that long ago. So I would love to give the mic over to Brielle and just ask you to think about some of the advice you would give your younger high school self, knowing what you know now.
Yeah. Good evening, ladies. First, thank you for having me. I'm Brielle Bryson. So as I think about what would I tell my younger self? I will say, don't take yourself so serious. Like, I know, like in high school, you're like, you're starting the journey of like achievement and accomplishments. You're starting to have to think about college and your future. And social media has people really, really overthinking what they should be or what they should look like or what they should do or what they should not do. But I would tell my younger self to do what feels right. So when it comes to like major selection and college selection, it's interesting because how I like just growing up, my family was always like in business. My mother was an accountant. My grandfather was in accounting, and I found myself trying to gravitate towards that naturally because it just felt like that was what I was supposed to do. And I'm glad I ended up not selecting. I ended up being actually a business major, and I can go into that later on how me and technology met each other along the way. But like follow your heart. I know it's kind of hard to like really know what you really want to do, and that's okay. It's okay not to know the things that you're passionate about, the things that you like. Take the time to learn more about that. I applaud you ladies for taking the time to learn more about technology and hear from women in technology. Obviously, it's definitely an interest. As far as college selecting, my mother didn't want me to go to the school that I went to, and I ended up going to Howard University, which was the best decision I ever made. So things can change along the way. Like, you're never set in one decision, you're never set in one direction. And so go with the flow, do what you're passionate about, continue to learn, be in a state of learning, not just as a student in the classroom, but out of the classroom, and reach out to people who you admire to give you guidance. That's what I'll tell my younger self.
Yeah. Wow. What a amazing flood of great feedback. Some of the call outs that I really applaud you for sharing with the group. Starting from last, find a mentor. Don't be afraid to reach out, raise your hand, find someone that regardless of age or experience that you can bounce ideas off of or share your concerns with. And also staying true to yourself. I love the fact that you reinforce that, quite a bit. The path you start off with does not have to be the one that you end up with. And I'm just trusting, yourself, along the way. I was going to grow up and be a judge, and I've been in technology for 35 years. So how'd that work out for me? I have no so you never ever know. Like to take that same question, and Shayna, hand the mic over to you. Find out what kind of advice you would give your younger high school self right now.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I think that for me, it's really short and simple, but it's just being honest with yourself. It's like, it really sounds like, okay, maybe you don't know yourself, maybe you do. For me in high school, I thought I knew myself, but really I felt, looking back, hindsight is 2020. I think I was just, influenced by two factors. One, so I ended up deciding to start as a biochem major. And I made those decisions, one based on, the parents. They were like, oh yeah, you should do something in science. I was like, oh yeah, maybe that's something I like. The other was people around me. Everybody I knew, everyone I hung out with was in the science. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I think I do like this, and I'm good at my classes. So that probably means that this is what I want to do. But I never actually took the time to stop and think, is this something I'm interested in? So I applied, I got into the guaranteed pharmacy program. So it was like, you didn't even have to apply to the, beyond the bachelor's level. You just got into the program. So everyone was like, wow, you got like a set path and everything. It's so nice, right? And I was like, yeah, I think this is going to work out. Everything is set. First year of college, I go in and, I'm still doing good in classes, but I just had this sudden realization. I absolutely hate this. I do not like labs. I do not like anything, actually. And so I just kind of had to stop and really this time be honest with myself and say, Sheena, do you want to see yourself, do this every single day for the rest of your life? And I'm like, no. So then, the next thing I did was try to backtrack and do that thing that I was supposed to do when I was in high school, right? Actually think about what I want to do. And I still didn't know. So I just went with the easiest solution I could think of. I looked at my prereqs and said, okay, which one of these classes takes the least amount of effort? And that should do it. And it was stats. I was like, okay, I'll do stats. I barely have to study for those classes. This will work. So I did that. And I was like, you know what, I'll just take it from here. And so summer, my sophomore year, I just started applying to all these internships and just totally by luck. And
Say it
right
for anyone
now,
else.
as sorry, did I miss something?
Just for we heard you froze like maybe 5-10 seconds ago.
Oh, sorry. I got like an internet unstable pop-up. So I'm like, oh, yeah. So anyways, so I landed the internship here and I just started learning from zero, right? I did not take any technology courses before that, and I just learned on the spot. So I think taking back from that one, you have to be honest with yourself, right? Keep repeating that. And the other thing is, whatever your major is, it's not the biggest deal in the world. I know some people are like, oh, make sure, you select something. It really isn't. There's tons of flexibility. I would say I thought I was the only one at the time who had no clue what I was doing. And then I turned out there's so many other people too that I knew also changed their majors. So that's just something that I really keep in mind.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your story. One of the things I find amazing is you volunteering that you're at a certain place with your college courses, and then thought, okay, took a pause. This isn't feeling right. What is easiest for me? But I'd almost like to add to that and say, what's easiest often is what's pulling you, what's driving you. You liked stats, of course, or to some degree better than the classes that you were taking that perhaps were less interesting, and you followed that path and it led you to the internship. So it doesn't have to be a picture perfect or textbook perfect path. You went ahead and excelled in what felt right, were true to yourself, and landed a great internship and which charted the course for where you're at. So I celebrate that. Alex, I know this was a question that was also really interesting for you as well, and I'm a big fan of the advice to my younger self. So I want to make sure before we move on to see what you would like to add.
I mean, for me, I am a first generation student, so my parents didn't grow up in the US, so I didn't have the same guidance as all my other friends in high school. So it was really, really hard applying to college and looking where to go and finding that spot, which I'm sure a lot of first generation students feel, where they don't have that guidance and don't know what to do. And for me, when I applied to college, obviously I was really cared about which name that I went to. Being kind of retrospective about it, it didn't really matter at all. The name of your college doesn't impact things too much. I would honestly say go to the cheapest place, the most affordable place, because student loans will follow you. and take advantage of every scholarship that you are eligible for, since that will genuinely help you a ton in college. Not worrying about finances will make it so much easier to focus on your studies. And going back, I didn't originally study computer science. I went in as an environmental engineer because I was a big, well, I am still a big activist, but I was kind of very passionate about being an environmentalist and how can I make a better impact on this world. However, this sounds so weird, but I started taking those higher level math classes and absolutely fell in love with math and calculus and just more theoretical mathematics in general. So I switched over my major to mathematics and computer science. And just being able to code all day was one of my favorite things, and learning about the deeper knowledge of what goes behind computer science and mathematics was one of the most fascinating things to me. And that continuous learning ability is something that drives me in my career every day.
That's awesome. So for the 20 plus of you students that are out there, yet another strong story of someone pivoting in their college career, starting off in one direction and then pausing and then following what they enjoyed, what they got excited about, what they were passionate about. It's okay if you don't know what that is right now, but thank you both for reinforcing that message to everyone. So in the spirit of choosing to even go to college and what to do, what to major in college, some of the pressure of having to declare something now, or, I don't want to be a liberal arts major, I need to have something concrete and solid. I mean, I'm going to go back to Piata and ask, what advice would you have for the students in our audience who are not sure if they want to go to college and or pursue a degree in STEM because they think it has to be a total math and science heavy major?
Well, I would definitely recommend starting with maybe a community college or some type of technical college. There's so many certifications, and also it's cheaper, as Alice was saying, like student loans are expensive. I myself, it took me about 6 years to get a bachelor's degree because I paid out of pocket. And if I could go back, I would have went to a technical school to start off. Also, like, I know math and science can be very hard. So if you're struggling with it, but it's something that you want to do, I would definitely ask for help. And just remember, you can't learn everything overnight. Like, some things take time to learn. And I actually had a not so great professor. I started off with a math major and they told me that I should quit, and I should try something else. Yeah, and I actually listened to him and I regret that. But, I ended up with an IT minor, so I kind of got a little bit into the STEM program through school. But also, Google, YouTube, they're like your best friends. So if you need help, rely on that. And like I said, always ask for help. I'm going to go back to that because that's like the number one thing. Ask someone. They can lead you in a direction that's very beneficial.
Yeah, love that messaging. Reinforces the whole finding a mentor. You're never too young. The WIT mission, as we know, has mentorship opportunities as well. It could be a teacher, it could be someone from church, it could be a friend of an older sibling. So having that person just to go to and vent or share concerns with or bounce ideas off of, if you're not sure if your folks are the right audience to maybe be a little bit vulnerable in front of because you're unsure, is really, really great, solid advice. Riel, I know you were interested in this question as well, so would love to hear some of your advice to our audience, those that are sitting uncertain, both again college or STEM focused major because of the perception that it's going to be heavy math and science.
Yeah, the ladies actually hit it on the nose between looking into other alternative ways to get education, not just always going straight to the university. Certifications is really important just to like get a taste, right? Because it's one thing to think like, oh yeah, I want to do math, right? And for me personally, I loved math in school. In high school, I loved math. And then eventually math turned less about numbers and more about words. And I was like, okay, I don't know about math anymore. But you really want to have the space to get opportunity to taste something. So I would say even joining other maybe clubs, like clubs outside of just like not just in school, but like organizations like this where you can probably get a flavor for different categories of STEM and see what really what you gravitate to, especially as well as scholarships, because I know financially that could be a burden, and it can also make someone not want to do something because they feel like they can't afford it. I do have some perspective on just technology in general. And so I didn't get into this, but I was coming into college. I came in undecided because I was too indecisive. I just didn't know. And then I turned into a business major, and I was a business management major. And what was interesting is because I always liked technology for the most part, but I also I was a leader, I was extroverted. I wanted to be the boss. Whatever job that was, I'm the boss. That's the job. That's the career I want to go down. And what's the qualifications for that? I don't know, but that's what I want to do. And I remember this was after college, and I remember having the opportunity to explore technology. And I was a little scared about it because I was like, I didn't have a STEM degree. So I was like, I don't know. Am I qualified for that? But the beauty of technology actually is that there's space for everyone. And so it's not that you have to want to pursue one very tunnel vision path. Like if technology really gets you going, but maybe your personality, your interests are a little different, there's always a space to mesh the two. And I'm just really happy that I've been in technology for over 9 years now, and I've been able to use the skill sets and my passions and my interests to be able to be in a world that's always evolving, always changing, problem solving, helping others, and so it all worked out.
That's awesome. Thank you. I want to pile on to that. One of the things I love to reinforce about careers in technology and STEM roles is we have a brilliant panel of technical women. I've been in technology for 35 years, and last time I wrote a piece of code was a very long time ago in college when I was a computer science major. There are so many opportunities to be in the technology world without having to necessarily be what you would think is a textbook technologist. I have been in sales management. I'm in alliance management right now, but technology, the STEM industry needs female leaders. They need the Brielles, the whole panel with that energy to want to lead a team and serve as mentors in human resources and finance. And so following the path of your passion, which so many of our panelists have talked about, is very important. The technology industry as a whole, yes, I'm actually hard selling it a little bit now, but it is fluid, it is dynamic, and you don't necessarily have to be a technology aficionado in order to make a difference in a technology company, or make a difference in the industry. So we have a few more minutes left with regards to our time, and so I'm going to try to squeeze in 2 more questions quickly. Speaking of making choices in tech, and the next question we have, if you could choose a different tech-related role, not the one you're in right now, what do you think you might do? And Alex, I'm going to throw this one over to you.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I talked about my love for mathematics. I think if I went back and really focused on what I would want to do, I actually think I would study harder on my math and go into algorithmic trading. I know it's super math-based, and for me, that's kind of my dream, is just to look at numbers all day. My numbers are networking numbers, so I do still a lot of math when it comes to the networking side, but it's not, I guess, the math that I would want to do. But I think that's the role I'd want to go into. Or Sharon, I am coming for your job, or your role.
Love that.
Happy to make you the successor. All good.
Amazing. But no, Sharon, you're a fantastic mentor. And seriously, there are women that all around you that aren't necessarily in, the same kind of role. Sharon's not a engineer in any way, but her technical knowledge is still super deep, and she is a fantastic resource at Hitachi.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. So last question, and I'm going to quick round robin because it is kind of a quick fire question. What do you think are the 2 or 3 most important skills that you bring to the table with your role? And I'm going to start with Shayna, and then we'll go to Brielle, and then Kenyatta, and then we'll move forward to Q&A.
Yeah, sure. So I think the most important thing is mindset and having a heart for it. You can have all these different tips that you read of how to be an effective, worker, how to be productive and everything, but it doesn't matter if you don't have that heart for it and you're not actually proactively thinking about, how do I get to that next step? So I'd say that's the first thing. Second thing is really quick and simple, is just working hard. I know there's things like, you got to work smart rather than work hard. But at the end of the day, if you're someone who keeps their head down and works hard and you're getting things done, people will want to notice that, and they will want to talk to you, because everyone just wants someone who can get work done. So I think those 2 things are very important.
Awesome. Love it. Brielle.
I love those answers, Shayna. So just going off of that, yes, I would say you have to be results focused. Like, your results should speak for yourself. So skill set it does come to being able, the ability to get things done, like complete it or work hard, see things through. That's very important, and being able to solve problems even if there's not a lot of information to work with. Communication is key as well, because you all, in my role, you have to have the ability to talk to anybody, talk to developers, talk to engineers, talk to the business, to be able to translate what the engineers are saying. And so you have to be able to communicate with different audiences. And then the last piece, which I'm going to throw in there, is being a disruptor. Like being bold and ambitious and a self-starter, and going against the status quo, which I actually love to do. So because people admire that, right? They admire that, they aspire to be that. And then in companies, people love that, right? Technology is all about, if you think about technology in general, it's all about disrupting. It's all about doing something different, and you blink and it's something else, right? So just always thinking above and beyond, and being bold in it. So that's what I would say. That makes great leaders, actually.
That's can't wait to see where you go next. That's a phenomenal answer. Kenyatta, last but not least, before we head to, I see we have at least one question to start us off. What do you think are the top 2 or 3 most important traits that are important to do your role, or just starting out your career in general?
I'm going to also say communication, because I'm constantly communicating with developers, and I have to be very detailed, give them step-by-step on errors that I'm seeing. So communication is always a good one. Attention to details. So making sure like I'm focused and concentrating on what I'm doing, because I don't want to mess anything up like worse than what it already is. So that's just, not taking so many breaks in between my tasks, trying to stay on one task at a time is really good, and being adaptable. And again, that goes back to asking questions and being willing to make mistakes. I mean, that's how you learn.
Great. Awesome. So I am going to shamelessly pile on. I've been in technology for 35 years, as I mentioned before, and I would say another important skill, which is very closely layered with communication. I think everybody needs to have a little bit of business development. I'm not talking like core, car salesman type, but regardless, if you're talking to a customer, if you're talking to your boss, if you're talking to a team, we're always being comfortable selling your idea, promoting your idea, and having that strong communication to first clearly articulate and capture your idea, whether it's written or it's verbal. But if you're in front of someone and you're presenting and you feel strongly about a certain direction that they should go with the project, with an architecture, with the test plan, at the end of the day, you're trying to promote, quote unquote, sell your idea. So being comfortable with that. I think, again, I've been doing it for a long time, and everyone could use a little bit of business development. Doesn't hurt. So that actually wraps up our formal panelist Q&A. You all have brought so much breadth and depth to the conversation with your experiences as young female leaders. So I want to begin by thanking you. And I can see that we have our first question, which we're going to toss off to the panel, and just make sure, Stella or Ferris, there's no other questions besides the one that I see in the chat right now for us to address.
No, that's the only one.
Okay, right, but it's a biggie. It's a good one. So Sophia Sosa, thank you for volunteering the question. She'd like to know, what are some of the options to start looking at, to start understanding technology? Where do I start to begin to understand technology, path in technology? And I'm just going to kind of go back in order, and Alex, I'm going to start with you on that.
Yeah, for me, one of the biggest thing is Microsoft has free learning paths. So if you go to Microsoft, I think it's like microsoftlearn.com or something like that, they have a ton of fundamental paths. So you can explore Azure. They have one for Dynamics 365, one for AI. And it's a great way to get your feet wet with specifically Microsoft products. But there are a ton of other online resources, which are fantastic. One of the ways that I learned was actually reading a textbook. I can share the PDF in the link. It's actually the textbook Stanford uses for their freshman year course, but it's a great way to kind of get your feet wet, but it's also very dense. But it's a great time. But online is one of the best resources you could possibly have.
And that's why we love Alex, because she can put a great time and technology textbook from Stanford in the same sentence. And that's why I love it. So that's phenomenal. I see another great question, but before we move on, does anyone else like to add to that? Any ideas, Shayna, or Brielle, Kenyatta? Any thoughts on ways that our audience can start exploring or understanding technology and the opportunities that lie there?
I would say one thing is, if there's a particular area that you're interested in, just really start to, look into that area in particular. Because I think that with technology, at least this is what I experienced, it's really easy to get lost because it's actually really wide. It's not just, I think there's a common misconception that technology is about coding. No, there's so much beyond that, right? I do security, and there's barely any coding. I don't code, and just security alone, I touch so many different areas. And if you want to just focus on one of those small areas, get to know who are the players in there, right? Who are the big companies behind that, right? Who are some people that are well known for that area? Start looking into that, and maybe look up a YouTube video about them. Look up a YouTube video. A lot of people like to do tutorials, and just start from the basics. But I would say start small and kind of see if that's your area that you're interested in.
Yeah, love the continued reference to the online free video resources. So I'd like to, in the spirit of time, I'm going to go to Kenyatta and Brielle. Actually, take that back, everyone. I love Francesca's question. Thank you for asking, Francesca. What are some of the jobs you started out with right after college? And I'm going to go to Kenyatta to start.
So right after college, I actually worked in a mailroom. I did that for about 8 months with ADP, working with payroll and making sure people got their payroll. And after that, I was a data analyst for 2 years. So that was my first, I feel like, big girl job more towards my career. And yeah, I did that, and now I'm at Hitachi, so I'm on my 3rd job right now.
Okay, outstanding, and so happy that you're here. Brielle, what about you?
I don't know if you guys want to know the not big girl jobs I had right after college.
That's the good stuff. Bring it on. That's what we want to know.
Oh, I'm ashamed. But okay, I'll tell you. So right after college, I was like, "Ooh, I'm a Howard grad. Yeah, I'm gonna have the job." No, that was not the case. So I actually ended up in sales like literally direct sales, selling hair, flat irons and whatever I had to sell, I was selling. So I learned how to sell really early, anything. And then I worked at a car dealership. I delivered newspapers because I need the extra money. I worked at a comedy club. Like I just had all these random jobs trying to make it out of college. But I will say under a year, when you are persistent and you're always working hard for the things that you want, under a year of all of that, I did get into a college rotational program at Capital One. So as you think of coming out of school, so you don't have to have those random jobs like I did, when employers or opportunities like this come up, take advantage of it, because you never know who you can connect with. You never know what you can learn. I encourage college programs going into the workforce, because it's geared and catered to college students and giving them the tools and resources they need to be able to be successful in the workplace. And that's how I was able to pivot into my career in the project management space.
That's outstanding. That's outstanding. You have some other great questions in the chat. I want to do, Estella, how are we doing on time? Give me a good.
Yeah, we still have time for this question and another one.
Okay, all right, perfect. Because I actually like to go to Shanna and Alex with the first jobs piece, because I think this is where you all make it very real. Just because you go to school and your pedigree says one thing, it's completely fine to start and follow your path if your journey starts you out somewhere completely different, because you never know where it's going to lead. So Gina, what were your first job or two out of college?
Yeah, sure. So I actually, since I had the internship at William Blair the summer of my sophomore year, I just continued working there part-time as I was finishing up my degree. So I was really lucky that William Blair was my first experience. I started out getting to know a little bit of compliance and auditing, a little bit of policy. And then I met some other security folks, got to know a little bit about incident response and other, network protocols, and then kind of jumped into network security, which is my current role right now. That all kind of transition, I would say. And I also did a little bit of automations as well. All of this was kind of bunched into, I would say, maybe the fall of my junior year, and then the beginning of 2019, which is the semester that I was graduating, was kind of where I set in stone and kind of took on the role that I was doing now. Now, did I have any other of those kind of not so tech related jobs on the side? I've always, and I still do, like to do reselling. That's something that I've just always really had a lot of fun with. And in college, before I did the internship, I also worked in research labs. I actually had to work for free because they said that I didn't have enough of the actual experience. So I traded in basically my pay for the experience. I had to, it was at a lab that did research on fish tanks. So after I did my research, I had to go clean the fish tanks. So, yep.
Excellent. Thank you. Alex, would love to hear your story.
Yeah, oh my goodness, I've worked a ton of odd jobs. Well, my first one, during college and kind of right afterwards, I was teaching kids actually how to code, and was leading an after-school program for teaching actually elementary and middle schoolers how to code in JavaScript, which was quite a challenge in itself. But after that, I actually switched over into bankruptcy law, which is quite the jump. So I actually worked in bankruptcy law for 1.5 years and learned a lot about bankruptcy and also the unfortunate parts. But that's also kind of what got me my foot in the door for tech, since I started kind of being the go-to help desk person at the law firm. Since they didn't have an established IT team or a help desk team, they'd give me these little tasks. And after that, I actually switched to a different company as a full-time help desk role. And I was there for a while, and I kind of picked up everything, since we were a tiny team of 4 people. So we all kind of had to be generalists and learn everything, which then led me to Hitachi, because I was able to build on top of that and expand my Azure knowledge. And building my Azure knowledge, I actually did all of that online using the Microsoft Learn paths. So yeah.
Yeah, outstanding. I'd like to talk a little bit my own journey because it's a little colored. So I started off computer science and then finished with a MAS degree, but always wanted to be some type of close to the coding, close to the iron. And started out, but couldn't find that job. So I started out just working in HR at an insurance company, at A&M Insurance, because they had great tuition reimbursement. And so I was doing that, finishing up my degree, and I wanted to get closer to client server computing. So I applied for a job back in the day before CDW. There were these stores, Stella and Ferrisville land, this micro age computer stores, little storefront places. You go in and buy your personal computer and take it home. And I applied for an office assistant job. I just wanted to be in the environment to learn more about the computing. And when I went in, they actually offered me a technical support position, installing accounting software that they were selling. It was an off the shelf. It wasn't coding. It was already written, and the salespeople sold it. And while I was there, I met someone who did a lot of training, a lot of technical training, which I loved being with people. And that woman ended up going off on her own. She took me with her. And that's when I fell in love with being in front of people and selling, etc. So thought I was going to stay in technical support for a while, and being around these salespeople and watching them give the pitch and knowing it was a bunch of BS, because I was the one who had to go in and install it and make the stuff work that they were selling. Just wanted to do it differently. So I absolutely love this question, and wanted to, so I was anxious to explore it with everyone, just to reinforce that your path doesn't have to be perfectly laid out when you start it in college. So 2 more questions, Kayla, and I'm just going to open this up. Anyone on the panel that has a reply. There's a lot of things, you're right, you can do in technology. So Kayla would like to know, how do you learn about every opportunity, every job, before you make your final choice? Anyone have a instant response or something that they'd like to share?
I want to say your career isn't set in stone. You can always try different technological jobs, and that's one of the funnest parts. Is you can always, I know at Hitachi you can always explore different practices here. You can always ask people different questions. So let's say Kenyatta wanted to go on my team and shadow someone. We would be completely open to that. And that's one of the greatest parts about working in tech, is you can always learn new skills and explore different sides of it, whether you want to be a project manager or switch from a project manager to software engineer to a cloud engineer. It's such an open field, and that foundation carries throughout.
Would you say that once you get through college or you start to interview for your first job, if you have the opportunity like Shayna to do an internship, would you consider that an important question to ask during an interview to a company? What kind of opportunities do I have to explore, other areas of tech? Anyone's thoughts on that?
I think as it relates to actual interview, I think the question can be, will there be an opportunity to explore other aspects of technology? Because while some companies are mostly they want you to learn something, be in that role, then jump to another role and just keep evolving. Not all companies are like that. And so when you're interviewing, I would imagine you're going in for a specific role, but asking the question, hey, I know there's so many components of technology. I know your organization is involved. You'll do your homework. I know your organization has this and that. Will there be an opportunity to be able to explore other areas at some point, depending if it's an internship versus a full-time role? And then just going to the internship piece, take the time to have different internships. You might start in one internship, you might like it, you might want to explore something else, make it a point for the next internship, maybe as an option to try a different internship in a different area and see how you like doing it and being exposed to it in the professional setting.
Yeah, and doing that throughout your college career is great. I absolutely love that, Brielle. Okay, we've got time for one more quick answer to our last question. Then we've got a few more slides of important information to share about the WIT mission, about scholarships. We talked a lot about funding for college. Last thought. Do you think that it's important to have a strong or a business background in addition to STEM-based education? Who would like to wrap us up with our final Q&A with that?
Sharon, I think you are one of the best people to answer that question.
Toss the mic back at me. I would say it just opens your world. The wider and more diverse your background is, the more opportunity you're going to have. And graduating out of college, you don't have to have equal business versus STEM, but keeping your learning opportunities, whether it's online, YouTube, formal courseware, making sure that there's somewhat or close to a balance, I think is important. So easy answer, yes. I don't think that there's a secret formula. Just keep your options open by continuing to always learn. I'm 53 and I'm still doing it to this day. So I want to thank all of our panelists for your vulnerability, for your candor, for your excellent answers and bits of advice. But I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic over to Estella to wrap out this great session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, the panelists. This was wonderful. So we want to share some information for closing. Can we move to the next slide on the mentoring circles? Perfect. Okay, so this is the best part. So I'm really excited to share with everybody the mentoring circle program. And I like to think that as part of the program, this is the piece that I call is the icing on the cake. This is the best part because this gives you an opportunity for you to be part of a mentoring circle. And if you don't know what a mentoring circle, it's group mentoring sessions. So we will have groups of sessions where we will have sophomores and juniors together, and it will be one mentor. There will be with a ratio of 3 to 5 students, depending on how many people will register. But it's a mentoring circle where the students and the mentor will meet once a month online and discuss relevant topics. Small discussions, great for having those deep discussions instead of a bigger group. So it's a great opportunity for sophomores and juniors to be part of this mentoring circles. And then we'll have also mentoring circles for seniors only, because those are going to be a bit more in-depth discussions on deeper questions on college. So the mentoring circles, the registration opens December 1st through the 31st. So I encourage everyone, you're going to get some emails and notifications for everybody who's interested to please register for the mentoring circles. So like I said, this is a great opportunity for all students to come together to have some mentoring, but also you're going to have some peer-to-peer discussion. So you're going to meet other peers, could be in your school or your other schools, and you're going to meet people that have the same interest in technology. So it's a great opportunity, and I welcome everybody to register. I'm going to pause right now if there's any questions about the mentoring circles before I move on to our scholarships. Any questions? Awesome. Okay, let's move on. Like I said, watch for those emails and those communications in December when the registration opens. Now, the other icing on the cake is the 2022 scholarship programs. And here we're introducing 2 types of scholarships. One designed for students who demonstrate financial need, and the other one is open for everyone. We have here the student profiles. We're looking for, females graduating seniors that are interested in a tech-based college degree. And we have some requirements, and I want to point your attention to the requirements. While it's typical scholarships, will require an essay, teacher recommendations and transcript and so on. One key requirement is that you have to be an active participant in the WIT mission events. And I want to highlight that. So the more events that you attend, it carries, carries some weight into the selection process. So please register for those WIT events. I have the amounts there. Again, we're looking to have the scholarships to be financial need, and one that's open, renewable, open to everyone. So, and the application process and open will begin February 1st through April 30th. So let me pause here if there's any questions on the scholarships. No questions on the chat or in somebody can ask any questions. Well, if you think of any questions after this, feel free to reach out to us. We're going to get more information as we put this program together. Now, there's no questions. Let's move on to the final. And I want to share with you some upcoming dates. So for next month, like I said, the mentoring circles, the registration is going to open. So please, if you're interested, register for the mentoring circles. And we're going to, for the Tech Talk Tuesday, we're going to take a break for December so we all can enjoy the holidays. But starting January, again, the mentoring circles will start, and we will have the last Tuesday in January, we're going to have a Tech Talk Tuesday. Resume writing. This is going to be a great resume for you to come in, and we're going to help you, in addition to walk you through what a good student resume looks like. We're going to have one-to-one sessions to help you put together a good resume that you can use for your college applications or for applying for jobs. We're looking forward to that in January. And then looking ahead in February, that's where the scholarship application window will open. So again, high school students that are attending fall of 2022, please, be on the lookout that the window will open for you to submit your applications for the scholarships. And then the February Tech Talk Tuesday, we're going to have a session for preparing for college visits. So look out for further emails, and we look forward to everybody to register to those events. Now, as a final, I want to thank everybody, our moderator, our panelists, all the students, everybody that attended for this event. Thank you very much, and have a nice evening.
Thank you, Stella. Take care.
Thank you. And for those students that were not able to attend, we are recording the session, so we'll share the communications afterwards. We hope, again, some students we know have events, have activities, but for the most part, we prefer to have the students attend the sessions. But for those, we know there's things beyond our control, and we do record the sessions. So anyway, thank you everyone, and have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.